Captain Armin Kane had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing could prepare him for the sight that appeared in the sky above the outer space station. The alien fleet hovered silently, massive ships glinting in the dim light of the nearby star. Their shapes were elegant yet alien, like a mix of organic and metallic structures that seemed almost alive. Armin adjusted his uniform and straightened his posture. As the senior human diplomat aboard the station, he had been trained for first contact scenarios. But standing in front of a fleet that could easily wipe out humanity with a single move made training feel useless. A calm voice broke the tension behind him. "Captain Kane, are you ready?" It was Ambassador Lyra, his longtime mentor and guide in interstellar diplomacy. Armand nodded. "Ready or not, we have to meet them. Let's hope they are reasonable," the airlock hissed as they stepped into the waiting shuttle. The journey to the alien mothership was tense. No one spoke. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, almost like the heartbeat of a nervous human. When they docked, the sheer scale of the alien architecture left Armin breathless. The interior was vast, almost cathedral-like, with walls that shimmered and pulsed as if alive. Shadows danced across the floors, making everything feel otherworldly. At the far end of the chamber, she waited. The alien queen. She was taller than any human, with skin that shifted color subtly as she moved, reflecting her mood like a living prism. Her eyes were deep pools of amber, intelligent and calculating. Her presence radiated authority, power, and a quiet expectation of obedience. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice melodic but firm, echoing slightly in the vast chamber. "We are honored by your presence." Armin bowed slightly, mindful of alien customs. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to meet you. Humanity extends greetings and respect to your people." The Queen tilted her head, studying him. "Humanity is curious. We have observed your kind for some time. Your choices, your resilience, they are unusual. That is why we have come." Armin felt a chill. "We are willing to discuss friendship and cooperation. We believe in mutual respect and benefit." A figure moved behind the Queen. A younger female, elegant and striking, stepped forward. She was clearly the daughter the Queen had mentioned in communications. Her movements were graceful, her eyes curious as they swept over Armin. There was a softness about her, a subtle rebellion against the strictness of her mother. "This is my daughter," the Queen announced. "She will join your people through union as a symbol of peace and alliance between our species. Tell me, Captain Kane, why do you hesitate? Why do you refuse her?" Armin froze. The words were direct, personal, and filled with expectation. He could see the daughter glance at him with faint hope, perhaps relief that someone might understand her. But he knew that what the Queen asked was far more than a personal question. It was a test of humanity itself. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Your Majesty, I do not refuse your daughter out of disrespect or fear, but I cannot accept any arrangement where a person is used as a tool for politics. Your daughter has the right to her own choice, her own life, her own freedom." The chamber went silent. Even the hum of the ship seemed to pause. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, a shift in color betraying a mix of surprise and disbelief. Humans had never refused her before, and certainly not in such a calm and reasoned way. "You refuse because of principle?" the Queen asked, her voice low, almost a hiss. "You place morality above diplomacy?" Armand met her gaze. "Yes, Your Majesty. We value freedom of choice. We respect life and dignity. Our alliances are built on respect, not coercion. If your daughter chooses to come with us, it must be her choice." The daughter's eyes softened, and for a moment she smiled faintly. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it spoke volumes. She had never met a human who spoke this way, who challenged the power of the Queen without fear. The Queen leaned back slightly, studying him like a predator observing something unexpected. "Your kind is unpredictable, dangerous, yet fascinating." She turned her gaze to her daughter. "Do you agree with him?" The daughter looked down, then slowly met Armin's eyes. I have often wondered what it would be like to choose my own path, Mother." "Perhaps he is right." A murmur ran through the chamber as advisors and generals whispered to each other. This defiance was unheard of. Aliens were accustomed to obedience and hierarchy, where a decision like this would never be questioned. Humans were a new variable, and their unpredictability was both alarming and intriguing. Armand took a cautious step forward. Your Majesty, our intention is not to insult or challenge you. We simply ask that you recognize the value of choice. We can build trust, understanding, and peace, but only if we honor freedom. The Queen remained silent for a long moment, her eyes glowing with shifting colors, processing what he said. Then slowly she spoke, her tone measured. Very well, Captain Kane. If what you say is true, then your species must prove it. We shall observe your behavior, your courage, and your integrity. If humans demonstrate that their choices are guided by honor and strength, perhaps the bonds we seek can be formed differently. Armin nodded, understanding the weight of her words. This was more than diplomacy, it was a challenge. Humanity had the chance to show the galaxy that they were more than a young, reckless species. They could prove that their values, morality, courage, and independence made them a force to be respected. As they were escorted through the ship, Armin noticed subtle signs of alien life that hinted at intelligence beyond technology. Plants that moved in response to thoughts, structures that seemed to breathe, corridors that subtly shifted direction. The aliens' understanding of biology, engineering, and psychology was far beyond humanity's, but so was their predictability. Humans, by contrast, were messy, creative, and often illogical. But that unpredictability, Armin thought, was humanity's greatest weapon. It was what allowed them to survive, to innovate, and to inspire. When they reached the observation deck, the vastness of space stretched before them. Stars glittered like diamonds. Nebulae swirled in colors humans could scarcely name, and distant worlds beckoned with promise and danger alike. The daughter stepped closer to Armin. I have never seen the universe this way, she said quietly. You humans, you value so much more than I was taught to understand. Perhaps I would like to see it for myself. Armin smiled gently. The universe is full of choices, opportunities, and discoveries. But true strength comes from deciding your own path, no matter how hard it may be. For the first time, the daughter's eyes sparkled with something like hope and rebellion. She understood that she could choose, that she could live a life guided by her own mind and heart. The Queen, observing from a distance, did not look pleased. Yet there was a glimmer of curiosity, perhaps even admiration in her gaze. Humanity had survived first contact not by power, not by diplomacy, but by principle. They had shown that even the smallest species could make the galaxy pause and reconsider its rules. As Armin turned to leave, he knew the real challenge was just beginning. The Queen had set her eyes on humanity, and the trials to come would test every human virtue, courage, ingenuity, and morality. But for now, humanity had earned something even greater than respect. They had earned recognition as a species capable of choice, integrity, and honor. The day after the first audience with the alien Queen, Captain Armin Kane found himself walking through the corridors of the massive alien mothership. The air hummed with a soft energy, almost like the ship itself was alive. Bioluminescent lights pulsed along the walls, shifting colors as they moved. He had been told this was part of the ship's nervous system, a method of communication with the crew. Armin had been summoned to meet not only the Queen, but also her council, the alien scholars, generals and advisors who shaped their society. Each of them moved with precision, their expressions unreadable, their intentions hidden. Humans had always relied on gestures, tone, and subtle expression to read others. Here, Armin realized nothing was obvious. Captain Kane said a soft voice behind him. He turned to see the Queen's daughter standing nearby. She smiled faintly, and there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes. You move through this ship like you belong here. Most humans would be nervous or terrified. Armin chuckled lightly. Experience teaches some of us to adapt. Fear can be useful, but only if it doesn't control you. She nodded slowly. You are different from what I expected. My mother said humans are impulsive, reckless, and weak, but I see strength in ways I didn't imagine. Before he could respond, the Queen's voice echoed through the chamber. Captain Kane, follow me. They entered a large room, circular and open at the top. Scholars hovered over glowing panels showing holographic maps of star systems, fleets, and planetary resources. Armin noticed patterns in the way they moved and communicated. Every motion precise, every word deliberate. Here, humans, the Queen began. You will observe our society, our culture, and our expectations. To you it may seem rigid, even harsh, but our order ensures survival, stability, and progress. Your people, you choose differently. Why? Armin took a moment. Because we value individuality and conscience. We believe that decisions guided by morality, creativity, and empathy are stronger than blind obedience. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. A murmur spread through the alien council. Some glanced at each other with confusion. Others seemed intrigued. One advisor, a tall, translucent figure, tilted its head. Humans do not follow hierarchy? They act independently. Why do you trust them? Armin smiled faintly. We don't always trust blindly. But we trust that people have the capacity to do the right thing. We give them responsibility because we believe in their judgment. The Queen watched silently. Her daughter stepped forward, her gaze fixed on Armin. That is remarkable. I have never heard such a thing from anyone in our court. The room fell quiet again. Armin realized that his words were creating ripples in the alien culture. To them, individuals were instruments of the state, tools for achieving collective goals. Freedom of choice was strange, dangerous, and yet fascinating. One of the generals, a broad figure with metallic skin, moved closer. And if humans fail? If they make mistakes? Your principles could lead to chaos. Armin met the general's gaze steadily. Mistakes happen in every society, but chaos is not always bad. It can force innovation, it can reveal courage, it can bring change that rigid control never could. We do not fear mistakes. We learn from them. The daughter's eyes widened slightly. She had never heard such confidence before, so calm, so certain, yet not arrogant. You believe humans can face danger and make the right choice? She whispered. Yes, Armin replied, because we rely on more than rules. We rely on conscience, loyalty, and courage. These are qualities that no system can dictate. The Queen's voice cut through the conversation. Very well. You have shown words, Captain Kane, but words are not enough. To truly understand your kind, we must observe your actions. Armin raised an eyebrow. Actions? How do you mean? You will participate in our Council of Observation, the Queen said. You will face challenges designed to test your logic, your adaptability, and your moral integrity. Only then will we see if humans are worthy of respect. The daughter's eyes sparkled. This is how humans are judged? She asked. Armin nodded. Perhaps. But we are ready. Our species has faced danger and impossible odds before. We survive because we think, adapt, and care for each other. That is our greatest strength. The council exchanged glances. The translucent advisor leaned closer. This is unprecedented. Humans speak of honor and conscience, not survival and efficiency. It may be enlightening. The first test began immediately. Humans were led to a simulation chamber, where they were presented with a crisis scenario. A colony on a distant planet was under attack by a rogue alien species. Armin and his team had to make decisions rapidly, whether to defend the colony, negotiate with the attackers, or evacuate civilians. Every choice carried consequences. Unlike the aliens who relied on strict algorithms and probability, Armin encouraged his team to improvise. They used creativity, combined with empathy, to find solutions the aliens had not predicted. Civilians were saved, conflicts were minimized, and yet, the plan was not perfect. Some resources were lost, but the humans adapted quickly, finding new solutions in real time. The daughter observed closely. They don't follow a strict pattern, she whispered to herself. They improvise. They think differently. Armin noticed her gaze and smiled gently. Different thinking can save lives if guided by principles. The aliens were stunned. Their calculations had predicted failure or hesitation, yet humans had succeeded through innovation and moral judgment. The council members whispered among themselves, recalculating their understanding of this species. Impressive, said the Queen finally. Your methods are unpredictable yet effective. You value life, courage, and choice. This is new. The daughter stepped closer to Armin. You are different. I see why you refused my mother. You respect life, respect freedom. That is something my people rarely understand. Armin nodded. Everyone deserves respect, even those in power, even those who are expected to obey. Freedom is not weakness, it is strength. And courage is born from choice, not command. The Queen studied her daughter and then Armin. Perhaps humans are not as naive as we thought. Perhaps there is wisdom in chaos. But chaos must be tested, and your species will be tested further. Over the next days, humans faced more challenges, puzzles that required teamwork and moral reasoning. simulations of complex political dilemmas, and tests of courage in simulated dangerous environments. Each time, humans used creativity, empathy, and intelligence to succeed. Aliens watched in awe as humans refused shortcuts that would compromise principles, even when survival was at stake. The daughter observed everything. She had never seen a species so committed to their values, so willing to risk everything for principle. Slowly, admiration grew in her eyes. She began to question her own upbringing, the strict rules of her society, and even the expectations her mother had placed upon her. One evening, after a long day of trials, Armin and the daughter stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "You humans, you are so alive," she said softly. "Your choices, your emotions, your courage. It's overwhelming. I had no idea the universe could be seen this way." Armin smiled. "It is not the universe that is special. It is the beings who choose how to face it. Humans are flawed, often reckless, but our choices define us. We survive because we care, because we make decisions guided by more than fear." She nodded slowly, a faint smile on her lips. "I think I understand. And I want to learn more, perhaps even walk a path of my own rather than one chosen for me." Armand looked at her, sensing the weight of her words. This was more than diplomacy. It was a seed of change planted by human example. He knew the Queen would notice. And when she did, she would be forced to reconsider not just humans, but the values of her own people. The days that followed tested humans even further. Aliens presented moral dilemmas where failure meant compromise, courage where hesitation could lead to danger, and leadership where unity was more important than obedience. And each time humans rose to the challenge, demonstrating qualities that were unfamiliar to alien observers: empathy, integrity, ingenuity, and above all, the ability to make choices guided by conscience rather than command. By the end of the week, whispers spread through the alien court. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was admirable, courageous, wise. They were not tools, not pawns, not weapons. They were beings of value, capable of reshaping the universe simply by being themselves. The daughter of the Queen watched silently, a quiet determination forming in her mind. She had seen strength, wisdom, and freedom in humans, qualities she longed to embrace. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that the path ahead, though difficult, would be her own. The day of the audience arrived. Captain Armin Kane knew it would be decisive. The Queen had summoned him to the central chamber of the mothership, a place where no human had ever stood before. This room was massive, circular, and completely open at the top. Lights shimmered like stars in the ceiling, and the walls were alive with shifting patterns as if the ship itself was observing him. The daughter of the Queen walked beside him, silent, but alert. Armand noticed how her gaze lingered on him, filled with curiosity and something he could not yet name. She had been quietly observing human interactions for days, and Armand knew she had begun to question the rigid hierarchy of her own people. At the center of the chamber, the Queen awaited, seated on an elevated platform. Her presence filled the room with authority and power. She had chosen a position that made her seem untouchable. Yet every movement, every glance, carried subtle signals that spoke louder than words. "Captain Kane," the Queen said, her voice echoing like a melody and a warning all at once. "You have made quite an impression upon my court. Your methods, your courage, your words, they are unusual. But one question remains. Why do you refuse my daughter?" Armin paused, feeling the weight of the chamber and the eyes of the entire court upon him. The daughter's gaze met his, a quiet encouragement in the depths of her amber eyes. This was the moment to speak the truth, not to negotiate, not to explain away diplomacy, but to stand firmly on principle. He stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I do not refuse your daughter. I refuse to treat her or anyone as a tool for politics. She is not an object, a symbol, or a reward. She is an individual with her own thoughts, her own dreams, and her own freedom. I cannot accept anything less." A hush fell across the chamber. Even the hum of the mothership seemed to pause. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, the colors shifting rapidly, a sign of surprise, perhaps anger. Humans had never spoken this way to her. The idea that someone could reject a political marriage not out of fear or defiance, but out of principle, was shocking. "You refuse because of principle?" the Queen asked, her tone low, almost disbelieving. "You place morality above duty? Above diplomacy?" "Yes," Armin replied calmly. Humans value freedom of choice. We believe that alliances must be based on respect and consent, not fear, pressure, or obligation. If your daughter chooses to join us, it must be her choice alone. The daughter stepped slightly forward, her expression a mix of relief and admiration. I have always wondered if I could decide my own life, she said softly. Perhaps he is right, the Queen's advisors whispered among themselves. To them, obedience was the foundation of society. Individuals were instruments of the state. To question authority, even with reason, was unheard of. Yet here was a human standing calmly, asserting principles that challenged centuries of tradition. One general, metallic-skinned and broad-shouldered, moved closer. And if humans fail? If they make mistakes? Your principles could endanger your people and our alliance. Armin met his gaze steadily. Mistakes are part of life. But learning, courage, and integrity are stronger than blind obedience. Chaos may come from choice, yes, but it is a chaos that allows growth, understanding, and innovation. Humans do not fear mistakes. We adapt, we learn, and we overcome. The daughter's eyes widened slightly. She had never heard such confidence before, so calm yet unwavering. You trust humans to face danger and choose wisely? She whispered. Yes, Armin said. Because our strength is not in power or technology alone. It is in our ability to make moral choices, to act with courage, and to stand by what is right, even when it is difficult. The Queen leaned back slightly, her eyes glowing with shifting colors. She studied him intently, trying to gauge if he was bluffing or if humans truly embodied the principles he spoke of. Your words are unexpected, but words alone do not convince me. Actions, when understanding, will determine your worth in our eyes. Armin nodded. Then we are ready. Humanity has faced impossible odds before. We survive through courage, ingenuity, and the bonds between us. That is our strength. It is who we are. The Queen's gaze softened slightly, almost imperceptibly. She turned to her daughter. And you? Do you understand what he says? The daughter's gaze met Armin's. I understand. And I want to choose. To decide my path, not be given one. The Queen's eyes flashed. Her daughter's words challenged not only the tradition, but her authority. Yet there was something compelling about the human's words. She had never seen anyone speak with such certainty and integrity. Very well, the Queen said finally, her voice steady. You shall prove your principles. You will face challenges that test not only your courage and intelligence, but also your morality. Only then will I determine whether humans are worthy of respect, and whether my daughter's choice is truly her own. Armin straightened. We accept your challenge. But understand this. Humanity does not bend to fear, pressure, or expectation. We act with conscience, courage, and reason. And if that is tested, we will rise as we always have. A silence fell over the chamber. Then the Queen's advisors began to murmur, some in disbelief, some in curiosity. No human had ever spoken this way. No human had ever refused a political alliance with such calm and reason. Humanity's reputation as unpredictable and defiant was growing, and with it, a sense of intrigue in the alien court. The first challenge was presented immediately, a simulation of a planetary crisis. Aliens had designed it to test decision-making, strategy, and moral judgment simultaneously. Humans were given limited resources, an imminent threat, and conflicting objectives. While the aliens relied on strict algorithms and probability, Armin encouraged his team to improvise. They considered not only survival but the well-being of the colonists, the enemy's perspective, and the long-term consequences of their actions. Where the aliens predicted failure, humans innovated. Where the aliens expected fear, humans displayed courage. Where the aliens anticipated chaos, humans created order guided by principle. The daughter watched silently. They think differently, she whispered to herself. They do not follow rules blindly. They care. They choose with conscience. After the simulation ended, the results were startling. The humans had succeeded in ways the aliens had not anticipated. Resources were preserved, lives were saved, and yet the humans had also maintained their principles. They had not compromised morality for efficiency, nor strength for convenience. The Queen observed quietly, her eyes shifting in color, reflecting her thoughts. Perhaps humans are not as naive as we believed. Their choices, their courage, their principles, they are remarkable. The daughter stepped closer to Armin. "You have shown me a way to live that I never knew existed. A life guided by choice, courage, and conscience, not fear or obligation." Armin nodded gently. "That is the essence of humanity. Freedom is not weakness. Courage is not blind recklessness. Strength is not power alone. It is the ability to act with integrity even when it is hard." For the first time, the Queen's eyes softened with respect, though her voice remained firm. "Your species is unpredictable, dangerous, and fascinating. We shall continue to observe. You may have surprised me today, Captain Kane, but the true test of humanity has only begun." The daughter's eyes sparkled with quiet determination. She had seen the human's courage, his wisdom, and his respect for freedom. Slowly, a seed of rebellion and hope grew in her heart. Perhaps she could choose her path, guided not by duty but by conscience. As Armin left the chamber, he knew that the real challenge was yet to come. The Queen would test humanity in ways they could not yet predict, physically, morally, and intellectually. But for now, humanity had earned something even more valuable than respect. They had earned recognition as a species capable of principle, courage, and choice. And in the heart of the alien court, the daughter of the Queen dared to dream of a life she could shape herself. Guided by example, inspired by humanity, she realized that freedom and courage were not gifts, they were choices. The following morning, Captain Armin Kane and his team were summoned again. The Queen's voice echoed through the corridors of the mothership, calm but commanding. "Humans, today you will face the next stage of your evaluation. Your choices, courage, and integrity will be tested beyond simulations. Your actions will define whether you are worthy of trust and whether your daughter may choose her own path freely." Armand nodded to his team. They had grown accustomed to the alien ship's strange environment, but the challenge ahead promised to push them to their limits. He looked at the Queen's daughter, who stood quietly beside him. She had a newfound resolve in her eyes, and Armin sensed she was beginning to see the galaxy through human perspective. Bold, moral, and free. The chamber they entered was vast, unlike anything on Earth. The walls shimmered, alive with energy. Holographic landscapes shifted constantly, as if the room itself could transform. A voice announced, "Your first challenge is the test of courage. You will face threats that are real, immediate, and unpredictable. Success depends not on power, but on your choices." The humans were transported into a simulated environment that resembled a dangerous alien planet. Volcanoes erupted, earthquakes shook the terrain, and hostile creatures, biomechanical in nature, attacked in swarms. Armin immediately took command, organizing his team to ensure the safety of both humans and civilians who were part of the simulation. Unlike the aliens, who relied on programmed responses, humans made split-second decisions based on empathy and observation. They rescued trapped civilians, avoided unnecessary confrontation with creatures, and used the environment creatively to outmaneuver dangers. Their unpredictability baffled the observing alien council. The Queen's daughter watched from a viewing platform, her eyes wide with admiration. They do not fight recklessly," she whispered. "They think, they care, they act with purpose." Armin noticed her gaze and smiled gently. "Courage without thought is chaos. Strength without morality is meaningless." After the first trial ended, the team was briefed for the second challenge, the puzzle of unity. This task required collaboration not only among humans, but also with select alien participants. A complex problem had to be solved. A network of energy cores powering a simulated city had become unstable. If the cores failed, the city would collapse. Humans immediately began communication, explaining their approach clearly, listening to alien suggestions, and integrating them with their own strategies. While aliens were skilled and precise, they were rigid. They expected decisions to follow established protocols. Humans, however, adapted, combining logic with creative thinking. The result was remarkable. Humans and aliens worked together in harmony, solving the problem faster than the aliens had predicted. Not a single life was lost in the simulation. For the first time, the alien council began to see humans as more than reckless creatures. They were intelligent, cooperative, and principled. The Queen observed silently, her expression unreadable. Yet subtle changes in the colors of her skin hinted at growing curiosity and perhaps a begrudging respect. The daughter, standing near Armand, leaned slightly closer. I think I understand why you refuse the marriage. You show respect to everyone, even those who are different, even those who are in danger. Armin nodded. Respect is not weakness. It is the foundation of courage and integrity. Without it, survival alone is meaningless. The third test was the trial of conscience. Humans were placed in scenarios that forced difficult moral decisions. Civilians could be saved, but at a cost to resources. Alliances could be forged, but only by risking lives. Armin and his team faced situations that would make any other species falter. Some humans hesitated, unsure of the right course. But each time Armin reminded them, think of principle first. Think of life. Choose what is right, not what is easy. Their decisions consistently balanced risk with morality. Unlike the aliens, who would follow strict rules regardless of consequence, humans demonstrated judgment shaped by empathy and experience. The daughter of the queen observed quietly, noting every choice. They make mistakes, she whispered to herself. But they learn. They do not blindly obey. They understand responsibility. She began to see a path she could take for herself, one where choice and integrity mattered more than obedience. The final challenge was perhaps the most difficult. The test of leadership. Humans were placed in command of a simulated fleet, facing a massive, coordinated alien threat. Every decision had life or death consequences. The aliens expected humans to falter under pressure, to make reckless choices, or to rely solely on technology. But humans acted with creativity, courage, and coordination. Armin led with calm authority, trusting his team, encouraging initiative, and making morally guided decisions. When faced with unexpected attacks, they adapted, using the environment, improvising strategies, and maintaining focus on protecting lives rather than achieving victory alone. The alien council watched in stunned silence. No species they had ever tested had demonstrated such combination of intelligence, adaptability, and morality. Humans were unpredictable, but in a way that revealed wisdom, courage, and honor. After the final trial, the humans gathered in the observation deck, exhausted but triumphant. The daughter approached Armin, her eyes shining. You have shown me what it means to be free, to choose and to lead with integrity. I want to learn this. I want to live this way. Armin looked at her, understanding the weight of her words. That is your choice to make. Freedom is not given, it is claimed. And the first step is deciding your own path, no matter how difficult. The Queen's voice filled the chamber, calm but carrying authority. Captain Kane, your species has performed beyond expectation. You have faced tests designed to challenge every aspect of your being: intellect, courage, morality, and leadership. And yet you have shown qualities we do not understand fully: empathy, ingenuity, and conscience. You have proven. Remarkable. Armin bowed slightly. Your Majesty, we are grateful for your recognition. But the true reward is not praise. It is the opportunity to live by our principles and to inspire others to do the same. The daughter stepped closer to her mother. I wish to make my own choices. I have seen what humans can teach us: freedom, courage, and integrity. I want to learn from them and from their example. I want to live my life guided by my own mind and heart. The Queen's eyes shifted, her skin glowing in complex patterns. Silence filled the chamber. No one had ever spoken this way in her court, least of all her daughter. And yet there was no anger in her gaze, only a slow, growing understanding. You surprise me, humans, the Queen said finally. Perhaps your species is more than I imagined. Perhaps strength is not only in power, hierarchy, or control. Perhaps your choices, courage, and morality make you formidable in ways we have yet to understand. The daughter smiled faintly at Armin. Your people, your species, you have shown me what life can be. I want that. I want to choose, to lead, to live with purpose. Armin placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And that is your right. Every being deserves the chance to choose their path. Courage, principle, and conscience are stronger than any empire or command. The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves. The humans had passed tests no other species could have managed. They had shown unpredictability that was not recklessness but intelligence. They had demonstrated courage that was not brute force but moral strength. And they had inspired the daughter of the Queen to question her own society and consider a life of choice. Armin knew the trials were not yet over. but a foundation had been laid. Humanity's principles had proven their worth. They had earned the respect of the Queen, the Council, and her daughter, not through dominance, not through cunning, but through the values that defined them: freedom, courage, morality, and integrity. And somewhere deep in the observation deck, the Queen's daughter dreamed of a life that was hers alone, a life shaped by her own decisions, inspired by humans who had shown her that freedom was not a gift, but a right worth claiming. For Captain Armin Kane and his team, the galaxy had begun to notice humanity's true power, not in their weapons or technology, but in their hearts, minds, and the choices that made them who they were. The trials were far from over. Yet one thing was clear: humanity had earned recognition, respect, and perhaps the greatest gift of all, the chance to change the universe by being themselves. The grand chamber of the alien mothership was alive with tension. The Queen had summoned Captain Armin Kane, his team, and her daughter. Today would decide not only the fate of the humans' diplomatic mission, but also the future of the young alien princess. The daughter stood tall, her expression calm but determined. The trials had changed her. She had observed humanity up close, their courage, intelligence, and moral strength. She had seen how they faced danger without fear, how they made decisions guided by conscience, and how they acted with honor, even when it meant risking themselves. The Queen sat on her elevated throne, her gaze sharp, her posture commanding. The council flanked her, their expressions unreadable. Silence filled the chamber as all eyes turned toward Armin. "You have completed the trials," the Queen began, her voice resonating through the room. "You have faced challenges of intellect, courage, morality, and leadership. Many species have failed where you have succeeded, and yet, your greatest challenge remains." Armin nodded, aware that the final test was not another simulation but the decision of the Queen herself. "We understand, Your Majesty. Our species is ready to demonstrate our values in any way required." The Queen leaned forward slightly. "You have shown qualities that are rare in the galaxy: independence of thought, loyalty, courage, and moral integrity. Your species is unpredictable yet admirable. But humans are not only judged by trials, they are judged by their ability to inspire change." The daughter stepped forward, her eyes meeting Armin's. "I have seen that humans are not ruled by fear, nor do they blindly follow orders. They act with conscience, they value life, not power, and they respect choice even when it challenges authority." The Queen's gaze flicked to her daughter, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You speak boldly, child. Your observations are unusual." The daughter straightened. "I have learned from them. I see what it means to be free, to live guided by principle and choice, not obligation. I wish to follow my own path." Armin's heart quickened. This was the moment humanity had fought for, not through conquest, not through diplomacy, but by example. Humans had shown that their greatest strength was their moral courage, their integrity, and their respect for freedom. The Queen's advisors murmured among themselves. Such defiance from a royal daughter was unprecedented. And yet there was no anger in her voice, only measured consideration. She studied Armin. "Captain Kane, your species has shown that courage and integrity are as strong as fleets and weapons. That independence of thought is not recklessness but wisdom. That empathy and morality are forces to be reckoned with." Armin bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, humans believe that true strength comes from choice, courage, and conscience. We do not dominate through fear or obedience. We lead by example and inspire through action. That is how we survive, thrive, and grow." The Queen's eyes softened, and for the first time, a hint of admiration crossed her features. "Perhaps we have underestimated your kind. Your species is unlike any we have encountered. You are not merely a tool, a weapon, or a servant of fate. You are capable of greatness beyond measure." A pause followed, heavy with significance. The daughter of the Queen moved closer to Armin. I wish to live my life guided by the principles I have seen in your people. Freedom, courage, integrity. These are values I want to embrace." The Queen's eyes flicked between her daughter and Armin. "You defy expectations. You place morality above duty. You teach even those of us who think ourselves wise, and yet, your choice may change everything." Armin stepped forward respectfully. "Your Majesty, it is not our intention to challenge your authority. It is simply our way. Every being deserves respect, and every choice should be made freely. We only show what humans value: freedom, courage, and integrity. The Queen leaned back, letting the words settle. The council remained silent. Even the generals, who had doubted human strength, now looked at Armin with a measure of respect. The humans had not only passed every trial, they had changed perceptions. They had proven that moral courage and freedom of choice were forces as strong as any weapon. Finally, the Queen spoke, her voice steady. "Very well. My daughter shall have her freedom. She may choose her path, inspired by what she has observed in your species. And humanity has earned respect not through conquest or compliance, but through principle, courage, and wisdom." The chamber erupted in subtle movement. The daughter's eyes sparkled, a mixture of relief and determination. She had been given a chance to live her life freely, guided not by duty alone but by her own heart and mind. Armin bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We honor your wisdom and your recognition. We hope that our actions will continue to inspire understanding, cooperation, and respect between our species." The daughter turned to Armin, her voice soft but firm. "You have shown me a new way to live. I wish to learn more, to grow, and to choose freely. Perhaps one day we can teach others as well." Armin smiled. "The choice is yours always. Courage and principle will guide you," the Queen observed quietly, a subtle smile crossing her features. For the first time, she realized that humans were not merely a species to be managed or studied. They were beings capable of teaching, inspiring, and changing the galaxy through their choices. The council began to murmur, many nodding slowly. The generals, once skeptical, now understood that humans were not reckless. They were principled, courageous, and wise in ways that were unfamiliar to alien eyes. The daughter moved forward, standing confidently beside Armin. "I will follow my own path," she declared, "guided by what I have learned, inspired by humans, and true to myself." The Queen nodded slowly, her voice calm but filled with gravity. "Then let it be so. You have proven yourselves worthy of respect, humans. You have inspired even my daughter to seek her own path. And perhaps, in time, you will inspire others in the galaxy as well." The humans had come to the mothership as strangers, cautious and respectful. They had faced trials designed to test every facet of their being. They had confronted danger, moral dilemmas, and complex leadership challenges. And through it all, they had remained true to their principles. The daughter's choice symbolized more than personal freedom. It symbolized the recognition of humanity's values across the galaxy. Courage, integrity, empathy, and the freedom to choose were forces that could reshape empires, inspire allies, and challenge traditions. Armin looked around the chamber, seeing not fear or hostility, but recognition and respect. Humanity had earned a place in the hearts and minds of the alien court, not as tools or subjects, but as equals capable of inspiring change. The daughter turned to Armin one last time. "Thank you for showing me that courage and choice are greater than any command. I will honor what I have learned, and I will live my life freely." Armin smiled warmly. "The universe is vast and full of challenges, but with courage, integrity, and principle you will find your way. Freedom is not given, it is claimed, and you have claimed it today." The Queen's voice filled the chamber one final time. "Let this day be remembered. Humans have shown that strength is not only in power or technology. Strength is in courage, morality, and the ability to choose. Let all who witness this know. Humanity is a species to be respected, admired, and understood." The daughter took a step back, looking at her mother. "Mother, I will not forget the lessons of my people, but I will live my life guided by choice, guided by what is right, guided by what I have learned from them." The Queen studied her daughter, then looked at Armin and the humans. A slow nod followed. "Then it is done. Peace shall be maintained, respect shall be honored, and freedom shall be recognized. Humanity has earned its place." For Armin and his team, the journey had been long and dangerous, but the reward was profound. They had demonstrated that humanity's greatest strength was not weapons or fleets. It was moral courage, intelligence, empathy, and the freedom to make choices guided by principle. As they prepared to leave the mothership, the daughter stood beside Armin. "Perhaps one day, humans and aliens can work together," she said. "Not out of obligation, not out of fear, but out of respect, understanding, and shared purpose." Armin nodded. "That is the future we can build together." "And it begins with choice, courage, and principle." The Queen watched from her throne, a quiet acknowledgement in her eyes. Humanity had earned not only respect but recognition. and in doing so had inspired change in the galaxy itself. And so, the humans returned to their ship, leaving behind a court that would never view them the same way again. The daughter of the queen had chosen freedom, and humanity had shown the galaxy that courage, morality, and choice were powers unlike any other. For Captain Armin Kane and his team, the mission had achieved more than diplomacy. It had proven the truth of HFY. Humanity's greatest strength was not in domination or technology, but in the very qualities that made them human. Integrity, courage, empathy, and the freedom to choose were forces that could reshape empires, inspire allies, and even teach queens to see the universe in a new light. As the stars stretched before them, Armin knew one thing for certain: humanity's journey had only begun, and the galaxy would remember the day when humans stood not as subjects or pawns but as equals, inspiring all who would listen and follow their example. The universe had changed, and humanity had proven itself worthy.